My name is Chatera Thomas, and I have been incarcerated here at MCI Framingham for 17 years. Initially on a natural life sentence, but now on a 15 to life sentence. Today I'm here testifying in support of the Jail and Prison Construction Moratorium S1979 bill. I asked the committee to report out the bill favorably and work to pass it into law as soon as possible. MCI Framingham is the oldest prison in the country, and yes, it does have a lot of problems as far as maintenance is concerned. But the problems here go a lot deeper when you look at the sole purpose of what this prison is supposed to do, and that is to reform and rehabilitate. When I first came to MCI Framingham in 2006, there were so many programs, workshops, support groups, and activities bursting at the seams in this place. I myself have received my bachelor's degree from Boston University, my 1,000 hours in cosmetology, which is a program we no longer have, and I received my Serve Safe and Foundations certifications from the Culinary Arts program. But within the last 5 to 8 years, there has been a significant decline in what could be or should be offered here to the women in Framingham to better themselves and transition back into society. All of the women here could have moved to a new prison tomorrow, but it would not do any good to any of us because the internal problems here in Framingham are far more greater than the physical surface problems. Instead of a new $50 million prison for women, our state could invest in so much more to help incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women. It could help to get the bachelor's degree program back into MCI Framingham and to the other prisons. It could also help to bring a master's program into the prisons to really prepare people for success. Some of that money could go into getting more trades here in Framingham, like building trades, computer IT essentials, cosmetology, and plumbing. And it could also help with the reentry services that we desperately need. Last year, I walked a good friend of mine, Angelia Jefferson, down to admissions with joy in my heart and hope in my veins, because after 32 long years, she was being released. Angelia was initially sentenced to natural life and had for so many years believed that she was going to die in prison. But her case was overturned and she was released on parole through the grace of God, and she is fighting so hard for the women of Framingham. Angelia is not home because of a new $50 million prison. She is home because of awareness and the National Council of Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women, Families for Justice as Healing, and New Beginnings Reentry Services fighting the good fight to get deserving women out of prison so that they can be better leaders in their community. On June 14th, Governor Maura Healey came to MCI Framingham, and a lot of women here had the opportunity to meet with her. We had the chance to express our concerns about the Department of Corrections, the lack of programming here at the institution, and what we felt we needed to better ourselves in prison. No one, and I do mean no one, expressed their need for a new prison. Because we don't want a new prison. We want people to find a way of thinking in regards to, we want people to find a new way of thinking in regards to our well-being as human beings. Almost every woman I've met and have gotten to know in Framingham is extremely remorseful and has taken accountability for the crime they committed that put them here. The lifers and other women that are doing lengthy sentences have never been arrested or charged for any other crime than the one they are here for right now. There is a huge difference between being a criminal and committing a crime. And if this was taken into consideration, the prison population would decrease. Together we can find other alternatives than prison where families can stay together and offenders can right their wrongs. In closing, I ask the committee to please pass the prison moratorium and also address the concerns of women inside Framingham. Massachusetts must focus on allowing women to return to the community and investing what us and our families need to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from the members of the committee? Just want to urge, please stay under no more than 3 minutes, or else we're not going to get through this hearing today. We might have to adjourn and come back another day. Pat Olson.
Hi. I will keep it under 3 minutes, I assure you. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak on such an important topic today. I have my service dog, Molly, here, so if I look away, just because I hurt. My name is Patricia Olson, and I've been incarcerated for 18 years. Today I'm testifying in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium as 1979. In my 18 years, I've seen millions of dollars spent here at MCI Framingham. The replacement windows alone for the 4 units was over $1 million, millions of dollars by itself, yet only 1 unit ever opened. You can't keep putting million-dollar Band-Aids on prisons that'll never help with the current problems or recidivism. For 18 years, I've seen programs dissolve, medical care worsen, to where women become seriously ill and sometimes die. I myself have had to endure years of medical problems to the point where my intestines ruptured in 3 locations, and I now have a colostomy bag. At the age of 60 years old, still having intestinal problems, and serving a life sentence with the chance of no parole, I'm scared of what else is going to happen to me and if I'll survive. I've seen substance users return time after time because they're not getting the help that they need on the inside of these walls or outside in society. There's a lot of women here on methadone, even women who have been clean for 20 years, but are now back on methadone. They stand by the door waiting for what's called special meds to be called by the med line. This is just another form of addiction and another Band-Aid on a serious problem. Most women don't continue to use methadone when they leave here. They go back to using illegal drugs. They're not getting the help they need here now, and building a new prison is not going to help either. Instead of spending $50 million on a prison where incarcerated women are yet again locked up with no proper Medicare and rehabilitation, we need to look at alternatives like giving medical paroles, ending life without parole, granting clemencies and commutations, giving parole hearings to women over the age of 55 that have served 15 years of incarceration or more, allowing judges to sentence individuals to treatment programs, especially if they relapse, focus on mental health and better medical care, have more places like New Beginnings reentry services, have drug treatment programs in safe, secure places, not where drug dealers wait outside to sell to those going to those programs. Lastly, we need women to have programs that help with parenting, healthy relationships, and teaching them a trade so they can make an honest living. I'm asking that you please consider alternatives rather than build another MCI Framingham. Locking up women not only affects them, it affects their children and family. When someone is incarcerated, so is everyone they love. Building a new prison puts the burden on the taxpayer. Why not help women become productive taxpayer citizens instead? Thank you for taking time to hear me. I hope you consider alternatives instead of building prison where only the contractor benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Next is
Thank you.
Go ahead. What is it? Next is Yamile Matherin, if I probably didn't pronounce your name correctly.
Matherin.
So,
Yamile Matherin.
All right, great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yamile Matherin. I've been incarcerated for a total of 13 years, 9 of which have been spent here at MCI Framingham. I'm here today to speak in support of the prison moratorium. I believe legislators should focus on decreasing recidivism rather than furthering recidivism. Creating a new prison would be going in the opposite direction because the more beds that are available in prison, the more those in power will feel that they're inclined to fill those beds. Instead, I believe it would be better to find more efficient solutions. Most of the people, like myself, are first-time offenders who are battling with underlying issues of trauma and substance abuse. These types of people would be effectively rehabilitated by the use of residential treatment programs, halfway houses, or electronic bracelet monitoring as alternatives to prison. At the age of 17, I became incarcerated for my current crime. Truthfully, what I needed at home was support emotionally and intellectually, and I wasn't receiving that. While I have received support in those areas, I have since watched the programs that have helped me, Restorative Justice, Vogue, Phoenix Rising, and all the mental health groups I participated in gradually disappear. The main focus of these groups were in teaching us to obtain mental stability, taking accountability for our actions, and understanding the consequences of our actions. These are the things we need to learn in order to go back into society and be productive, and not reoffend, yet it seems as if these groups are not prioritized in what is best for us. In my opinion, building a new prison would be a complete misuse of money. That money could be better spent in improving the current conditions here at MCI Framingham, or towards additional support programs to help with reentering society. I thank you all for hearing me out today, and I sincerely hope we take all the testimonies heard today into consideration. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. You were quick. We appreciate it. Any questions from the committee?
I know there's time, so I wanted to be quick.
Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have it's Daisy Inaru.
Yes, hi, good afternoon.
Inaru, please.
Inaru, yeah. Oh, you
Okay.
got it. It's good. Thank you. All right, good afternoon. My name is Daisy Inaru, and I've been incarcerated at MCI Framingham for the last 1.5 of the almost 16 years into my life sentence. I am testifying in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium. I beg the committee to please work to pass it into law as soon as possible and stop the unnecessary use of your families, and all the taxpayers of Massachusetts' hard-earned money to build a new women's prison. A prison that is in no way is being asked for nor needed by any of the women here. It's not more space that is needed, as there are 2 completely equipped, totally empty, and usable units that can house up to 60 women each. Units that the administration have refused to open. Instead, just 3 weeks ago, for the sole purpose of triple bunk in cells that are barely big enough for 2, a brand new 4th shower stall was built in a unit that only had 3. This was accomplished in 4 days. The first of the 2 best examples proving the capability of repairs being made in a timely manner. The second, and by far the best example, was when Her Honor Governor Healy visited the prison just 2 weeks ago, and repairs were made within the first 2 days of her, within 2 days prior to her coming. Why throw away all that money just to spend more on something that will eventually need repairs as well? What is more important is that this prison houses less than 200 women, and still it can't provide access to professional health care that is attentive, prompt, and not delayed for weeks, even months, even when that care is for the ever-growing elderly. The lack of ability will only worsen if there are hundreds of more women, creating more health problems and drive up costs for health care without improving the quality. A new prison will not eliminate problems. It will only transfer and multiply them with a larger population. MCI Framingham should remain open and be forced to continue making the necessary repairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Any questions from the committee?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Next is Aaron Lee.
Thank you.
Aaron Lee. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium as 1979. My name is Erin Kipum Lee. I grew up in Seoul, South Korea, and immigrated to Vancouver, Canada when I was 18. I attended University of British Columbia and studied political science and international relations. I lived and studied in Germany, United Kingdom, and traveled Europe and North America and Northeast Asia extensively. I came to United States to attend law school. I helped and later worked for my then landlord, who was a dishonest businesswoman. Because of her lies and greed, I was falsely accused and wrongfully convicted and imprisoned. I have been incarcerated for almost 12 months. I am pursuing direct appeal, Rule 29, sentence revocation reduction, and sentence review by the Appellate Division of Superior Court, Rule 30, new trial, and stay of the execution of the sentence. My trial and appellate attorney found at least 10 meritorious appellate issues after thorough examination of the pretrial and trial record, including the trial transcript, police interview, evidence, witness testimonies. I'm innocent of this crime. In fact, I've never committed any crime in my life. And I can't wait to be exonerated and see justice being served. Many women here in MCI Framingham are in the same boat. What we needed before we were incarcerated was thorough and meaningful legal representation, better criminal justice process, including fair-minded district attorneys and judges. For the last 12 months, what I observed when it comes to incarceration is that it is a way of managing social problems by refusing to confront them. Instead of solving issues, the system puts people behind bars. We can't deny that there are people in prison who have done hurtful things to others, but they are not the majority of prisoners. There are many reasons why people engage in criminal activity, sometimes out of malice, sometimes out of mental illness, sometimes out of self-defense. No matter what a person has been convicted of, does it make sense to house hundreds of people together or separately in isolation cells, deprive them of contact with their families, deprive them of education, and then assume that this is going to help rehabilitate them and help them to be a healthy part of society? We need to use our imagination to envision versions of democracy that allow for the right to quality education, the right to live in a world where education is not a commodity, but rather a creative discipline that allows us to understand all the worlds we inhabit, both human and non-human, the kind of education that compels us to transcend the limits of nationalist patriotism in order to imagine ourselves as the citizens of the globe. Therefore, instead of new $50 million prison for women, we want our state to invest in educational programs, extended programming and vocational training, and increase access to library. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next, Robin Casali. Robin Casali. Go ahead, Robin.
So just that. How you doing? Hello, my name is Robin Casali, and I resided at Framingham for 14 years. I want to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to express why I feel building a new prison is not a good idea. The cultural toxicity that presides and resides at Framingham is far more detrimental than the poorly maintained prison that is Framingham. Yes, Framingham can use some repairs structurally, but the need is not imminent. What is needed imminently is accountability for starters. We are a small community, whether we like it or not, and those who govern over us have an obligation over our safety since they have control over us. As incarcerated individuals, we have taken accountability, or at the very least, are being held accountable for our misdeed. That is our retribution once we are sentenced, and then follows rehabilitation upon entering prison. In theory, I say in theory because there is nothing being offered in way of programs at Framingham, not even AA or NA, which is as basic as far as programs are concerned. There are no trades being offered other than culinary and nothing available in the way of restorative justice to incarcerated individuals to move forward. Even more pressing is the dire need for proper medical care. I have personally witnessed horrible tragedies that could have been prevented with medical intervention. Those tragedies have only increased in recent years because no one has held these various insurance companies accountable. Human lives should not be discarded or even disregarded by people who have taken oaths and in this case have signed contracts to do otherwise. Women who have been here for years and have aged poorly due to terrible mattresses, processed foods, and in general poor living conditions are not getting most of their medical needs met. That is heartbreaking, especially in a state that has less women prisoners than any other state in the country. This is a fact, just like it is a fact that the food we women are served on the daily is inexcusable. To start with, the food is negligible, and even worse, it is poorly prepared to be kind. I say to be kind since you will see, if you care to investigate, that it is not only unsanitary in our central kitchen, but our food is constantly mishandled by the vendors that are contracted. These are but a few of the many inadequacies we are faced with day after day. Do you truly believe building a new prison should take precedence over major issues? Think about how far $50 million can go into alleviating these real issues. Why waste $50 million and continue to face problems that will eventually expand into society when the women here now will become part of society later? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, Jessica Dean.
Thank you.
Jessica Dean.
Good afternoon.
Right ahead, Jessica.
My name is Jessica Dean, and I've been incarcerated for 19 years. 16 of those years I've been at MCI Framingham, and I'm here to testify today in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium. I'm asking the committee to please report out the bill favorably and work it into law as soon as possible. Let's be honest. What does the Department of Corrections actually do for individuals in their custody? The answer? Nothing. I mean, the word corrections is in the name, and there is no programming to help individuals to correct or even rehabilitate themselves. People are more worried about spending $50 million building a new prison when they can't even get things right with the existing prison. Instead of worrying about stacking the pockets of a construction company, invest the money in for programming that we need dearly in Framingham. DOC needs to worry about helping the women here with their trauma and substance abuse issues. During my 16 years in Framingham, I have seen this place be a revolving door for many women due to the lack of treatment that they need. I am, thankfully, a survivor of domestic violence, and there is no programming for us women who have been victims of domestic violence. We are not asking for another prison. We are asking for a programming to help us heal and move forward to be positive and successful returning citizens. I thank you for your time and consideration on this matter.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. Marie Lyons. Marie Lyons.
She's not able to make it. This is Sandra Dostey.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you.
Is Marie not available?
She has changed her mind.
All right, go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you. As I said, my name is Sandra Dostey, and I've been incarcerated at MCI Framingham for 28 years. I've seen a lot, and I have a lot written down, but instead I choose to talk to you directly. I'm asking you to please consider why MCI Framingham administration is making it hard for us to meet representatives. What don't they want you to know? They would have you believe that we need a $50 million prison because MCI Framingham is old and beyond repair. But they just, in the last few years, spent $20 million of taxpayer money building new units, like renovating the units. Why would they do that if something's beyond repair? They're presently spending a $10 million grant building a new program at MCI Framingham. Why would they do that if it's beyond repair? This administration would have you believe that we need a new prison because we're overcrowded. But the truth is, they're not utilizing perfectly good units. That if they spread us out, there would still be extra room. So I'm asking you to please keep talking to us, get all the information you can. If you move us, you'll just be transferring our problems, not solving them. So in closing, I was really nervous about retaliation with this, about testifying. I've never done anything like this before. And if something does happen, I promise I'll tell you all about it. So I prayed about it. And it's no coincidence that last Sunday's gospel reading reads as follows, in part. Fear no one. Nothing is concealed that will not be revealed, nor secret that will not be known. What I say to you in darkness, speak in the light. What you hear whispered, proclaim from the mountaintops. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proclaiming from the mountaintops. It's the people that are the problem, not the prison. It's the people that are the problem. We can be responsible with this $50 million and spend it in a way that will help the people that are going to be released to our communities. I thank you for your time,
And God bless you in your decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Next, we have Zeno Williams.
Thank you. Oh, hi. Thank you for letting me present. My name is Zeno Williams, and I'm here to speak on the moratorium bill. I've been incarcerated at MCI Framingham for the past 21 years, and I've watched the mismanagement of DOC happen for those 21 years. In 2012, MCI Framingham was labeled a landmark by the Historical Society as well as the Audubon Society. Within that time, we have been able to restore a lot of MCI Framingham and fix it up as best as we possibly can, and we're still trying to do that now as is. I know that DOC is asking you for $50 million in order to build a new prison. That $50 million, a fourth of that $50 million could be used to restore the prison that we already have right now in order to make it a sustainable place for the women that are already living in it. And we do not need a new prison, nor do we want a new prison. We're asking you, the legislative body of Massachusetts, to hear us in saying that you've already spent $20 million between the years of 2016 and 2020 to fix up MCI Framingham. How much more money are we going to ask our families, your families, to put into this prison in order to create new homes for new people who we don't need to keep incarcerating? The aging population here at MCI Framingham does not need a new prison. The aging population here at MCI Framingham needs rehabilitation. They need more programming. We need educational programming. We need job readiness programming. That is what we're asking for. We're asking you to allocate this money into the programming that it needs to be into. We're asking you to see that the potential of MCI Framingham, there are buildings here that could be torn down, could be remade into better rooms, better space for the people who need it. We understand that prisons, we're always going to have prisons, but we don't need a new prison. What we need right now is for you to understand that this money could be best used for education, for programming, for healthcare, for the aging population that you have sitting before you, the aging population that need better healthcare and better understanding. Right now, we don't need any prison. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next, Shempreet Dinkins.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Just very quickly, I do have to step away for a meeting. I'm going to turn over the chairing of the committee to Senator Collins. We apologize for those who are in person. Normally we go back and forth in person and virtual. Their time is very restrictive, so we're going to try to continue and get in all their testimony before we come to in person. We also have two men that are going to be testifying as well from the Sousa facility. But we'll continue with MCI for now, so go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for this privileged platform that you allowed me and my fellow sisters here today. I am Shempreet Gloria Dinkins, a Boston native by birth, the eldest of identical twins, and a Boston University alumni. I am also a young ebony woman who refuses to be oppressed and ignored, especially by a system that holds me and others alike under the guise of rehabilitation. Throughout my 9 years of incarceration at MCI Framingham, I've been through a lot and I've seen a lot. In 2016, I remember vividly standing outside in the compound, watching heaps of women push bins, filled to capacity to the point of not being able to move them, crying. Chaos poured out all around us. We were desperate for answers, however, we received none. Just desensitized correctional officers threatening to confine, punish, and even oppress further if we dared to refuse or even complain. I'm gonna fast forward to the years of 2020 up into the current year of 2023. We've been shuffled around this campus so many times I've lost count. It seems to me that during the COVID pandemic was the only time that they had room for us. We had 7 or more units available on this campus. In 2021, my unit of that time, which was West in the Smith building, was closed down without any notice. I remember asking the captain before that day that was on duty as ship commander, "Are we moving?" And he nonchalantly told me to my face, no, that it was only a rumor. By 1 p.m. that afternoon, there was a mass move taking place. We get more threats of having disciplinary actions taken against us if we refuse our moves. Such an irony. Here's where my deepest concerns lie. The majority of women incarcerated or detained at this facility reside and are rooted in the metropolitan areas, from Suffolk County, Norfolk County, Essex, Bristol, and Plymouth County. Being treacherously hauled off to a prison 2 or more so hours away will be cruel to us and to those who do time with us, for us, and by our sides. Our homes are already shattered by the devastating realities of our lengthy language sentences. Global inflation is hard enough on our families' day-to-day survival. From groceries, gas, college tuition, and other unnamed expenses, it is almost impossible to stay afloat. Transportation fees out into Western Mass will only cripple the family dynamics further, leaving it in detrimental ruin. As I testify here today, my mother, the Blessed Donna Dinkins, has no electricity, and yet she exclaimed to me in a sad tone, "I will never see you again, Pre, if you end up all the way out there." Millions of dollars have been invested into this facility, and million more will be. Yet we experience no new opportunity. I'm sorry. I personally say no to the shady agenda to build and reopen another prison. $50 million can open doors to women to have successful reentry. It can also aid our sober houses, our minimal security facilities with more resources to help women reenter and become constructive contributors to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We need decent programs that open doors into professional arenas. We also need instructors and educational tools that are up to date and relevant to our current modernized era. In 2019, I suffered a 2nd and 3rd degree burn to my left arm I was under the tutelage of a DOC contracted instructor of culinary arts. My arm was seared with an oven of 400 degrees when the door was closed on my arm when I was doing a temperature check for the chicken of that day that we were serving. That experience left me with a sear of traumatic distress in my memory. Whenever I smell burns or whenever I smell smoke, I'm reminded of how I was severely burned and severely neglected by medical care. To me, it seems as if they have started to look at us as if we are less than trash, as if our lives are cheap and we don't even have any matter or any voice. So today, I'm not only testifying for myself and for my future, but for the future of my children, the future of my community, the future of those who support and love me. And I'm raising my voice in testimony because I have nothing to lose. I have everything to gain, me and the other women that you see here today. Instead of spending $50 million to destroy more homes and dreams from the hearts of our suffering families and our communities, put it towards rebuilding lives, rebuilding communities, restoring hope, restoring dreams, and building a stronger, more unified Commonwealth society. I say this, that I say yes to housing, to home ownership over imprisonment. I also say yes to reentry that doesn't discriminate against women's sexual orientation, their belief, or their past, or their formal criminal history. In conclusion, my name is Shampri Gloria Jenkins. I've been incarcerated 11 years. I testify today in support of the Jail and Prison Construction Memorandum, S1979. I ask the committee to report out the bill highly and favorably and work to pass it into law as soon as possible. And before I make my exit, I'd like to leave behind a quote to sit with, for all of us to sit with. A society is only as strong as the people. Hashtag I am free her. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Michelle Koselik.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Lynn Kozielek, and I support the proposed moratorium on prison construction because prison population is not the problem here anyway. We've got plenty of unused housing here, and the primary problem we got is a disrespectful superintendent who won't open this housing. The best example of her character was recently exemplified by her claim to your colleague, Ms. Eiterhoven, that myself and others were willing to stay in double cells because we were refusing to move to the Algon unit because there was no Wi-Fi in the Algon unit. That's not true. Nobody ever asked us about it, and if asked, most of us would have said the same thing I'm thinking now. We would rather have a single cell than worry about Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is available all over the prison. It's available in this building. This is being done by Wi-Fi in this building. Short staffing has been one of the biggest issues. One of the problems is because about a third of the people that worked here transferred to other prisons when they discovered Super Marchand was coming here. From our perspective, we witnessed dishonest management by her and her deputy all the time. I saw Deputy Superintendent Lazat tell Representative Eiterhoven that it was a security violation for her to try to get a prisoner's contact information. When I complained about being this double-celled with a child rapist because I was raped as a child, she said, "You're not on my singles list." And a few days later, she moved me to an upper bunk in another cell. I'm 74 years old and have bad tendons in both elbows. That's about what you need to know about Miss Lynn Lazat and the superintendent. But we recently received a number of new correctional staff from Walpole. So 2 of the closed housing units could easily be opened using 6 full-time officers and 2 officers for relief. That would put everybody back in a single. And I have a federal court order to be in a single. Kozielek v. Spencer, 774 Federal 3rd, 2014. Other than that, they do strange things like forcing us to wear only green T-shirts when the property policy, which is a state regulation, says we can have black, white, and blue. I spent 28 and a half years in the men's system. When I came here, they confiscated my colored T-shirts, said we can only wear green. We could buy white, but we couldn't wear them. This is very odd. Perhaps you know why they do this. But there's plenty of housing space here. There's plenty of space for vocational programs, but we have none. The men have training in, they have training in plumbing. They have training in vocational, HVAC stuff. They have training in welding at the men's system. We have no vocational training here whatsoever. The recent return of the right of prisoners to get Pell Grants would let us get a whole bunch of vocational training programs here that would give people an opportunity to do something besides steal when they got out. And yes, there will likely be retaliation for revealing some of these inconvenient truths, but it's what it is. I have a musician's order for a bottom bunk, but Deputy Superintendent Lazat is a woman with no medical training, is the one who makes the final decision on bottom bunks. She and Superintendent Marchand are all that stand in the way of Framingham becoming an effective rehabilitative entity. But everyone I've asked agrees that we don't need another women's prison because we have plenty of housing here. What we need is hope for a better future at Framingham. Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting us. Do you have any questions for me?
No questions. Thank you. Annette Stewart Lightsey.
All right. All righty. Let's do that. Let's do it.
Good afternoon. My name is Annette Stewart. I'm presently serving life without parole, and I'm present today as one of the many voices, not only for myself, but for all of the incarcerated, to request an alternative to building another women's prison. The amount of money it would cost to build another will serve the communities in which we've all come from by means of more vocational training, education within itself, employment and treatment programs to aid not only our communities, but also aid in reducing recidivism. I want to say from my perspective as a woman of color serving life without parole, who has spent 3 decades in prison, is speaking for all of us, that spending the remainder of one's life behind the walls is not a solution, because accepting and acknowledging our own self-culpabilities with the additional tools we've been given while incarcerated, we would be able to repay our debt to society and those who we have offended the most due to our actions. So I'd like to thank all of you for this opportunity and your time and allowing me to speak directly to you.
Thank you, Annette. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, would now like to invite Kristen Longley. Thank you, Annette.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Kristen. You can begin your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Longley, and I have been incarcerated at Framingham going on 8 years. I'm giving testimony in support of the Jail and Prison Construction Moratorium S1979. While it may seem Framingham is overcrowded and in need of costly repairs, that is really an illusion for one purpose, just to build a new prison. I'll present some facts to challenge that. First, they say we're overcrowded, and there are actually only like 200 women here, but we did at one time house over 800. They claim that they can't open 2 of the 5 units that are livable for these sentenced inmates, and they claim this is due to understaffing. They claim that, they're painting a unit. They claim that there's no Wi-Fi in a unit, but when they painted a unit here, they didn't move any of the women out. They claim they're understaffed, but they have staff that just stand around and group together, and how are you understaffed if there's a bunch of you in one area? The Wi-Fi issue, we have a unit here that goes without Wi-Fi weeks, sometimes over a month, and that unit remains open. They claim costly repairs, but they've already spent close to $20 million in repairs on this place. So are we going to tell taxpayers that we're just going to throw that money away and then, we want you to pay another $50 million on another new prison? There's a much less costly option, and it is getting people alternate housing programs where they can be released. GPS. There's an aging population, and I'm sorry, nobody could convince me that a woman in her 70s who is in heart failure is a threat to anybody. I understand there's a place and time that consequences are needed, but when is it cruel and unnecessary? When is it excessive and too much? Prisons are not successful ways They don't keep us safe. They don't keep people out there safe, and they're not a successful deterrent. And it doesn't matter how shiny the police, the real problems go away. Instead, the money needs to be used for treatment and programs and resources to help people. If I had a place that I felt safe, I wouldn't be here. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Martin Luther King. The only way to really end this is to break the cycle of abuse and trauma. We should all be helping each other forgive, heal, and lead better lives. And I know I want it better, but I also need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Would like to invite Jasmine Rivera to testify next. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Jasmine.
Good afternoon.
Please begin your testimony. Thank you.
All right. So, my name is Jasmine Rivera. I'm 41 years old. Since I was 18 years old, I've been in and out of prison. You can basically say on the life installment plan. You guys are all familiar, I believe, with the methadone mile, Mass Ave, if sure you are. But I'll get back to that. I've been 23 years in addiction, in and out of prison. When the judge sentenced me, he told me it was to get rehabilitation and, to get things together. Well, that's definitely not what happened when I got here. What ended up happening is I learned through administration and the COs how to manipulate, how to lie. As well, I endured physical, emotional, sexual, and let's not forget economic abuse, because that's a big one here. And today I sit in here and I'm getting nothing out of this. I'm sitting here on dead time. But I will say, since I've been here, I've been working with a woman on getting her out on medical parole. Her name is Brenda Baruso. So I put my time into that, since they've given me nothing positive to do in here to change my life. I'll change my life myself, and I'll change other lives, because there's women left behind and people have forgotten about them. And the community needs to just remember, like, we're human and we matter and we're here, and they need to be paid attention to. There's women here that are just deteriorating, 80 years old. They don't even know they're here. They have dementia. They don't even know where they're at right now. And it's sad to know that, like, you guys just want to build another prison just to leave these women to rot here. They'll never die of free women. They'll never see their families before they die. Some of them don't even have a tombstone. They have numbers, They don't even have family members out there to actually even put them in the ground. So they're like just thrown wherever they put them. It's sad to say that these women have been forgotten. And I don't want to be one of those women. So I feel like if I end up leaving here without the help I need, I'll probably be dead shortly out there. on Mass Ave will return again to use drugs and just do whatever, because there's no rehabilitation here whatsoever. So that's it.
Thank you for your testimony, Jasmine. I'd like to invite up next Graciela Paulino. Good afternoon, Graciela. Please begin your testimony.
Hello. I would just like to state first off that this is a historical moment for the women incarcerated, all of Mass. This has never been done. So I'm glad for everybody who's speaking up. You know, we're all trying to get something done to help better us. And I appreciate everybody that's on your sides listening to us and also trying to push for all this stuff. $50 million. Why do we need a new facility when this is a perfectly functioning facility? Here, the Smith building is only about 30 years old. It's almost my age. Yet, the mismanagement is what causes things not to work so well. You have two perfectly well units open, ready to open, yet they're not using them because they want to cram us into space so that we complain about the lack of availability of rooms so that they can open a new prison. But that's not what we need. What we need is more resources. When I was 20 years old, I didn't have the resources I needed to further my life. I ended up becoming incarcerated and possibly almost serving a life sentence. I believe that I got a second chance and I got a lower sentence, and I'm here on a 7 to 8. But I could have easily been one of those people having a life sentence. And if I had a life sentence, what was I going to do being here? That led me to believe that I had to do all these things, negative things, when in all reality that doesn't have to be the cause. Over the last 3 years, out of my 5.5 years, I've been trying to turn my life around. But because of the lack of programming and no reentry, I've been by myself, basically. I have no support system. My grandmother passed away when I was 2 years ago when I was 24. I'm 26 now. When I get out, I have nothing to go home to, no support, no family. I'm by myself. It would be a lot easier to help if the $50 million that they're trying to make this new prison would be used for, let's say, halfway homes, even possible furloughs, places where we could go, where we can work on reintegrating into the community. We have people who, thanks to these new laws that are being passed, are now being able to leave prison. They've been here for 30, 40 years. They don't know what it's like to be on the out. What we need is a way for them to reintegrate into the community, to have a positive transition, to then be a citizen, a positive citizen. These things like new buildings is putting a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches. It's not going to change anything, and these people are probably going to come back, unfortunately. You see the same people coming in and out of here. I've been here 5.5 years, and I don't see much new faces. I believe if we start from the root and give people programming and opportunities to change, like trades, open cosmetology up, give them programming they need, bring them to places like halfway homes and reentry places, easier access to minimum security, we can change those things, and we can change the outcome of people coming back. That way, people know how to be when they're on the out. There's just a lot of things that need to be done, and building a new facility is not something that needs to be done. Like I said, anything with reentry always starts at the core, and it needs to see where the support system is. A new building is not support. It's just a place to keep us locked in more, which is also deteriorating for your mental health, emotional, even physical. So I don't support the building of new facilities ever. I think they should be focusing more on trying to release people. That's how you started. The more you lock somebody down, I believe the worse they get.
Thank you, Graciela. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'd like to invite up Melissa Cordell to testify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Melissa. Please begin your testimony.
Okay. Good afternoon to everybody also. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak out. I'm Melissa Portal. I'm 73 years old and have been incarcerated for the past 38 years. I would first like to express the concerns about a new prison. We don't need a new prison. We need a new administration. The problems are here. It would just turn around and take the problems that we have to a new prison. We have 2 units here that could be open. It allows 138 inmates to full capacity. We have the room. It's just not being used. The medical problems are in a shambles. Overworked nurses, and we really excellent Dr. Rosenfeld has to answer the DOC for medical issues, procedures, and providers. Everything has to be cleared to the DOC. The Deputy Lazard seems to ignore ADA requests, taking single cells, bottom bunks, and requests, and denying things. She is not a doctor or a medical qualified to do this. Alternative sentencing, a relief for elderly inmates. I have been classified as very low recidivism and a very low threat to a society or the community. I'm wheelchair and walker at this time with future operations and medical care. The process for medical issues are very, very slow. We fluctuate on 200 or less. When we had inmates, 700 to 800 inmates, it was an institution could barely get things done, and it was better efficiently done. Alternative sentencing could be a good thing to do. Programming. I've done restorative justice, but programming here is not working for the issues that we have. Inmates go out and they turn around and come right back. This pathways hasn't quite done what we're supposed to do. And it isn't the answer. They're dedicated to what they do, but the facilitators, but it's not happening. It's not working the way it's supposed to. I want to thank everybody for allowing us to testify. This is huge, and what's really going on in this facility here. Any questions or anything like that? Something you want to...
No questions. Thank you very much for your testimony, Melissa.
Thank you very much for allowing us to do this.
You're welcome. We'd also like to recognize and welcome up Takisa Matthews to testify. Good afternoon, Takisa. Please begin your testimony.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Takisa Matthews, and I have been incarcerated at MCI Framingham for 7 years, serving a 12-13 year sentence. I'm here in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium S1979. I think it's unnecessary to pass this bill on building a new women's prison. Framingham once was a place where you can work on yourself for a better future. They had awesome programming such as vocational training, AA, BU degrees, and reentry. Now it's just a place where we just resign. There's nothing here to help us rehabilitate ourselves so we don't reoffend. Instead of spending $50 million on a new women's prison, I would like to see the money spent towards our future success. Better GPS programming for the women already incarcerated, which will help readjusting in society, as well as job hunting and employment, readiness, and more independent living resources. And since I've been here, education used to be a great thing, but I've been in education for 2016, and I got one more test to pass. And I can't pass that test because there's not enough teachers. He's teaching over 30 students, and there's only one teacher. So I would like to see education better for MCI Framingham.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Takesha, we'd like to welcome forward Brianna St. Peter to testify as well now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Brianna. Please begin your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Brianna St. Peter. I just entered my 4th year of an 8 to 10 year sentence for illegal wiretapping. I am testifying today in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium. I'm asking the committee to report out a favorable bill and pass it into law as soon as possible. Throughout my time here in Framingham, I've met countless women who, like myself, arrived here with severe PTSD from a very broken beginnings. Personally, I was struck by just how many women have also grown up in DSS, the state foster care system, and have been attempting to navigate their way throughout adulthood without any real sense of identity of who they were or even why they are where they are. The various childhood traumas, abuses, and collection of mental health disorders that have gone untreated or undiagnosed behind these walls is overwhelming. Yet they've been a central character in the stories of almost all of the women I've met, including myself, and subsequently led to the circumstances that brought them here to Framingham. While I'm grateful for the education and programming that has been provided to me, there could be so much more. I don't believe that putting a shiny bow on an already broken prison model will do anything but perpetuate these traumas into the future, while doing a serious disservice to the communities that many of us will inevitably be returning to. Please, while considering whether to invest in us women, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want returning to my community? An educated, productive, healthy person, or one that still continues to be broken? Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Any questions for the committee? Seeing none, we'd like to welcome Julia Corey to also testify as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Good afternoon, Julia. Please begin your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. I am inmate number F81350. I currently live in the mental health unit. I arrived in 2009 and have served 14 years of a natural life sentence. As a child, I witnessed domestic violence, was abused by several of my mother's boyfriends, and then became a victim of domestic violence myself. I am against the construction of a new prison, and here are a few of my personal experiences to help you understand why. The first 5 years, due to the fact that I was not sentenced, I was ineligible for most of the programming that no longer exists here. In 2012, I had a serious suicide attempt. Upon return from the hospital, I was dumped in a cell, alone and naked with only security smock to cover my front half. What little services that were offered had nothing to do with my mental health needs. In all my time here, there has never been anything offered pertaining to the topic of domestic violence that I am aware of. The challenges of mental health in prison make it difficult for myself and those around me to heal. Yet here I remain as inmate number F81350. In 2020 and 21, I suffered from severe pain in my upper abdomen. I was told I had indigestion and was placed on Prilosec. A few months later, I was having emergency surgery to remove my infected, stone-filled, ready-to-burst gallbladder. I know society labels women in prison as bad, but we do deserve quality medical care, which we are not receiving. The surgeon told me I was lucky to be alive, but I have to admit I wasn't so sure of that. In the early 1990s, the Smith Building was built to alleviate whatever issues were going on. So why almost 30 years later are we speaking to architects about building another women's prison? There are 2 units in the Smith Building and 1 on the compound that are move-in ready and still remain closed. Why are we not learning from our mistakes and focusing on what really matters? $50 million is a big price to pay just to build more wasted space. After almost losing my life at the hands of a monster, I was left with profound hearing loss. Yet the systemic failures at MCI Framingham are heard loud and clear. Are we not worthy of proper medical care? Are we not worthy of proper mental health care without the limits of security staff? Are we not worthy of programming that actually works and tackles the problems of recidivism, education, proper living, codependency, and most importantly, eliminating women in prison altogether? My growth stems from my peers and not from the minimal service that MCI offers. I point out these inadequacies in the hope that the $50 million be used to solve our existing problems. The injustices here are not structural. As inmate number F81350, I would like to properly introduce myself. My name is Julie Corey. I am a mother of 5, a grandmother of 4, and most importantly, a survivor of domestic violence. I ask that you pass the moratorium and put a pause to the building of a new prison. Let's take the women out of the dark and nourish them with the knowledge and skills they need to succeed in life. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Julia. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'd like to invite up Isidoris Castro as well to testify. Thank you. Good afternoon, Isidoris. Please begin your testimony.
My name is Isadora Castro. I have been incarcerated in MCI Framingham for 1 year, and I have about 2 years left to serve. What I want legislators to know about MCI Framingham and the DOC is that the system is broken and failing women. The ultimate goal of incarceration is to rehabilitate citizens and return them to society prepared to succeed in the places where they failed. To me, this means putting the focus on programming and mental health. The DOC is not doing their part to invest in the futures of its residents. However, Massachusetts wants to spend over $50 million to build a new prison for women. For a small town girl like myself, that kind of money is life-changing. Instead of using that money to actually make an impact and change lives, the DOC would rather waste those resources to fund the construction of yet another facility that's sole purpose is to warehouse people. The DOC needs to reprioritize their goals and place reducing recidivism at the very top. In order to achieve that goal, there needs to be a renovation within our current prison. And I do not mean a new floor or a new roof. I mean a fresh approach to how we uplift, educate, and prepare returning citizens. Making a substantial investment in programming and mental health services will be far more impactful in the lives of the women here than a new facility can ever be. Currently at MCI, there isn't much programming or mental health services available to us. Mental health groups and services are only really available to people who are in a special RT program, which at the moment only caters to about 15 clients. As far as programming and education goes, there are limited options when combined with the limited amount of space available in each program. We are faced with a barrier that prevents growth. And isn't growth the purpose of rehabilitation? The DOC should be doing more to focus their energy on rehabilitating their current residents and thinking of where they will store their future ones. Returning citizens are faced with the stigma attached to having records, and investing in us would prepare and encourage us to no longer be society's pariah, but rather be the pillars that society depends on. The lack of preparation is where the DOC is failing us the most. Currently, the only vocational training available to us is culinary. But is that all we are capable of, working and serving in kitchens across the Bay State area? I don't know about you, but when I look around at all these amazing women, I see artists, counselors, businesswomen, and leaders. There is so much potential and intelligence behind these walls, but we aren't being invested in or challenged as much as we should. Thriving as a rehabilitative citizen has very little to do with the location we are housed in during our incarceration, and everything to do with the environment we are nurtured. Changing locations will not help the many problems we are facing. All a new facility will do is lock the same problems behind a different set of doors. When given the choice between people and doors, the choice is clear to me. The question is what you will choose. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today, and I hope you have a very good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isadoris. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, would like to welcome as well Nicole Fernandez to testify. Thank you. Good afternoon, Nicole. Please begin your testimony.
My name is Nicole Fernandez. I'm 45 years old. I'm in my 27th year of a natural life sentence, with 18 to 20 from and after. I came to MCI when I was 19. Prior to the crime that brought me here, my juvenile record was change reports and runaways from my home. I ran away because I was being abused. DSS had a mandate to reunify the family. No matter how often I said don't send me back, they always sent me back. When I was 15, I became homeless. It was easier and in some ways safer than home. I became an even worse alcoholic, and I made poor choices in friends, and I ended up in prison. Building a new prison won't fix what's wrong here. We have poor health care, dismal mental health, and this place is essentially just a holding pen for women to just go right back out, do the same behaviors over again, and end up right back here or dead. There is no skill building here, no trades to learn, no coping skills to combat destructive emotions or impulses. Education opportunities are few. When I came here, because I already had my GED, I couldn't work with Sister Black, whose sole responsibility was to work with women under 21, even though she had 0 students. There is a huge turnover in staff here. My current therapist has been here for about 10 months. I've seen her 3 times. I'm supposed to have a 1-to-1 every 2 weeks. It's in my mental health contract. And I've only seen her not because she scheduled me, but because I stopped her when someone else said, no, not today. I live on the mental health unit. My body is covered by scars, and I put there myself because self-mutilation is one of my unhealthy coping skills. I've attempted suicide a few times. Once I almost succeeded. Now they're graduating me from the mental health program, in their words, to see if the program works. If they bothered to ask, I could tell them, no, it doesn't work. The staff that run the groups are sometimes unsure of the subject matter and don't want to redirect or refocus us back on the subject at hand so we don't learn skills. Medical's cure for everything is water, Motrin, and an ACE bandage. When you have a complaint, if you get seen by a provider, 98% of the time, the responses you get are drink more water, lose weight, here's some Motrin, use this ACE wrap. If they can't pawn you off with one of those, it's I'll put in a referral to Shattuck, which can take months at best, and that's only if they don't forget. I've had on and off severe back pain since before the pandemic. I couldn't sleep lying down for months. During quarantine, they told me it was my IUD. After they took that out 5 months later, they then told me it was stress. 7 months after that, they finally sent me to PT. When that worked, they said, oh, you're cured, PT's done. That was about 18 months ago. The pain came back a few weeks after I stopped going to PT, and I've been waiting since then to go back. I've been referred. And that's not even the worst medical mistreatment I could give you. It's just the shortest. The money they want to use to build a new prison could be put to much better use. I am a realist. As long as women commit crimes, there will be a need for a women's prison. But we don't need a new building. We need the administration to open the units that are sitting empty, ready, and waiting and capable of being used. We need better health care. We need reentry, job skills, domestic violence counseling, drug counseling, better mental health care. Stop just throwing a bunch of pills at us to keep us quiet. We need to be given the opportunities to learn the skills that we'll need to become positive, contributing members of society we'll all be going back to. In the grand scheme of things, it's a lot easier to fix what's wrong in the place you already have than build something new, because none of your problems will be solved in a new building. You'll just relocate the same ones and be in the same place. Use the $50 million to create more programming. Bring back the college diploma program, building trades, IT essentials. Instead of choosing to give programming to the men only, give it to both. Women need to learn trades as well.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Nicole. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'd like to invite Julia Enright. Thank you again.
Hi.
Good afternoon,
Is this
Julia.
volume okay?
Yep, you're fine. Please begin your testimony.
Hi. My name is Julia, and I've been incarcerated for roughly 5 years. I want you to know that I and others have already experienced retaliation for only speaking with the state representative. So it goes without saying that worse will probably happen for speaking here today. That's how important this is. I want to really thank you for listening. We don't need another prison. You've heard that the population here is tiny, and the newer prison Walpole was just closed. If this is about money, you should know that the administration has an excess of money to spend before the end of the fiscal year, and the worst part is that they're blowing it on things we don't need when there's so much that we do need. They're painting units that don't need it and buying tables that didn't need to be replaced. They're hurting the environment by serving all of our meals in styrofoam trays for years because the dishwasher is broken. I've heard they're wasting money on water and electric and condemned buildings for unknown reason, which, by the way, could be torn down for other uses. In fact, we have 3 units that could be opened right now, but we are all being illegally housed together in double and triple bunks. Mass regulations require a minimum of 120 square feet for 2 people in 1 room. Here's another example of the illogic here. We are very overcrowded, as you know. All sentenced women are crammed into 3 units. Supposedly we're short-staffed, but we're wasting officers on a quarantine unit when no other prison in the state is quarantining. That's 3 whole officers being wasted on this purpose, and no one knows why. Overcrowding causes stress. It's simple. People and animals alike do not learn, grow, or retain information when kept under stress. When I was in county jail, I was blessed with a solo cell for 2 years. I grew more during this period of my life than any other. I read, reflected, and meditated constantly, and I'm grateful for the wisdom and understanding I've gained. Trying to achieve any of that with someone within 3 feet of you 24/7 is like going to the therapist with a stranger sitting next to you. I also want you to know that despite our administration having women in it, none of them seem to care about the surprising differences between the men and women's prisons. I wouldn't have believed this apathy possible in 2023 if I hadn't come here. We have no AA, we have no NA, no anger management, no music program, no art program, no trades training whatsoever, no bachelor degree classes, no horticulture or training in our greenhouse. It's just sitting there. No cosmetology training. We can't even get mascara or disposable razors, but the men's prisons have those. We will be punished for braiding hair, but the men can braid hair. This is to show you the focus of the administration. It's arbitrary control and punishment. I should clarify that the music program was actually approved 4 years ago, and not a single woman has been allowed to buy an instrument since. The art proposal has been in limbo for months, and I don't know why. The men have all of this and more. The problems we have here can easily be solved here. A new prison is a step in the wrong direction. I know it's not publicly realized, but if you came and lived here for a month, you would see 90% of people could be released on a GPS bracelet today and be successful. 98% of the women I've met are not dangerous to anyone. We're building the future. If we choose to make more prisons, we will use more prisons. Meanwhile, communities all over the country and world are finding alternatives to prison and having much higher success rates. We can't know that and pretend more prisons are a good idea. Tax money could be spent on creating other programs and positive differences. Everywhere we're learning what helps communities. I believe in the future, and if you do too, I ask that you look around at what does and doesn't work. We don't need another building of scars and trauma. Truthfully, there's so thoroughly no logical motive for building a new prison, the only conclusion I can see is that this is some kind of money grab. They're only in it for the money. I'm asking you to care about the people. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Julia. Without questions from the committee, we would like to invite Derek Washington to testify.
I'm sorry?
I said, thank you very much for your testimony. We're going to invite Derek Washington to testify now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Is Tamik Kirkland with us virtually to testify? Oh, Derek is there. Okay. Okay, I can't see. Oh, you know what? I think, Derek, you may be on mute. Yeah, Derek, if you want to take off of mute.
It says he's on.
Mr. Washington, I think you need to take mute off your system. I think you're having trouble there. Okay, while we're waiting, pardon me? I have. Yes.
Okay, say your name. It's on Derek right now, sir. Oh, okay. I'll keep you on here until we can get on or something. I unmuted it.
Yes, I think you're unmuted now.
So, okay, it's unmuted, sir. Start talking and get in front of the camera.
Okay, Mr. Washington, you can begin your testimony. Thank you.
Say your name.
Mr. Washington. Are you talking to Tamika or Washington? You're talking to you?
No, the other guy.
I'd leave it.
Yes, if we could have Derek Washington begin his testimony, then we will hear from Tamik Kirkland.
Can you hear them now?
Yeah.
If Mr. Washington's still having issues getting off of mute, if we could ask Mr. Kirkland, Tamik Kirkland, to begin your testimony.
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tamik Kirkland. I'm at Susan Baranowski Correctional Center. I'm testifying today in support of the jail and prison construction moratorium on Bill S-1979. I urge the committee to report this bill out favorably and work to pass it in law as soon as possible, as they've been having bi-weekly meetings to build a $50 million prison for women and a $21.5 million jail for boys and toddlers. According to the numbers, Mass has one of the lowest incarceration rates in the country, as well as the lowest among incarcerated women. Of the 200 women incarcerated at the state's only female facility, 20% are pretrial detention, and probably because of their bails are excessive. And 20% have aged to the point that becoming a recidivist is extremely low, so they should be released on some type of supervision if possible. So besides spending $50 million on a new prison, why not put programs in place that could help make prisons unnecessary to begin with, like substance abuse treatment, mental health services, education, trade, and things of that nature. And the same could be said about the boys' jail. A lot could be done for plenty of communities with that $71.5 million if it's used on program instead of locking people up. Like when I was in 6th grade in Springfield, Massachusetts, my middle school had a program called mock trial, which was like related to courtrooms and things. And that was like the best thing. All I wanted to do was be a lawyer. By 7th grade, that program was pulled probably due to the lack of funding. And due to its absence in my young mind and my surroundings, I quickly lost my direction. And within the next 2 to 3 years, I went from wanting to be a lawyer to needing a lawyer to represent me in juvenile court, criminal court. I'm not testifying here wholly to blame my current status on the absence of the program, but it's possible that if programs like that stayed in place, it could have given a little boy like me more hope and more options in which I could have made better choices and my life could have turned out better. And that's the same as a lot of other little boys. I strongly believe that using that money to invest in the communities can help reduce crime and recidivism, which will dismantle this notion that more prisons need to be built. It's obvious that building these prisons is instead investing in propelling mass incarceration, which will result in over-policing Black and brown communities to arrest and incarcerate their women and children to fill up the prison now. And that's going to feed the suburban economy that those Black and brown people will be housed in. Mass incarceration is not making this country a better place. So invest in people, not prisons. My name is Tommy Kirkland.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Kirkland. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. And we're going to try Mr. Derek Washington one more time.
Yeah, first, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you and welcome.
Yeah, first I want to just uplift the voices of all the women showing the courage, the incredible women before me for their testimony. I know it took a hell of an amount of courage. My name is Derek Washington. I've been incarcerated 18 years. At 17 years old, I'm passionate about this issue because at that age, my mother was incarcerated. And when she was incarcerated, what it did was it ripped my family apart. It caused us to go in a number of different directions. And she only was guilty of being in love with the wrong person. But the person she was in love with was in love with an addiction. So my whole thing is, if they would have invested into the problem opposed to incarcerating the individual, my life could have went in a polar opposite direction than what it is. But the question is the wisdom behind prisons. Like, what do prisons do? It's like a convenience store. A convenience store's best customer is somebody who keeps coming back. So it's like, once you build a convenience store, you have to keep filling those convenience stores. But there's no convenience in incarceration. Instead of investing into the individual, you invest into building a new place to keep individuals. These places are hellholes. So if we, in turn, learn how to use the wisdom of our past and not continue just to build these structures that continue to harm and make individuals continue to circulate through the school to prison pipeline, it's like it goes for nothing. But I just want to say it's a pleasure to being able to have my voice heard. And I feel, yeah, let's not build new prisons.